The last of Colorado's snowy mountain passes sees us into the far southwestern corner of the state and to the engrossing history lessons of Mesa Verde National Park. Unfortunately, it was Memorial Day weekend, and this time we weren't the only ones on a road trip. Still, we managed to avoid the crowds and commune with the ghosts of the ancestral Pueblo people, at least for a short time. Our time in the quirky little town of Montrose, Colorado was finished. We pulled onto sunny Highway 550 and looked ahead to the mountains we'd be passing through on our way to Mesa Verde National Park. Nice view. Although I guess it's possible to have an even nicer view of the area. This is the intersection of Highway 550 and Highway 62 in Ridgeway. It's the only traffic signal in all of Ouray County. Also in Ridgeway, we passed over the Uncompahgre River, a tributary of the Gunnison River. Our final goodbye to all things Gunnison. In Placerville, we stopped at an awesome little post office to send a Black Canyon postcard to ourselves. And if you too like this building and you want to run a post office, well, it's for sale. Rivers tell the story of our drive today. For a while, we followed the lovely little San Miguel River in Uncompahgre National Forest. This paradise feels like it's tucked away where nobody knows about it, except those lucky few who find themselves here for one reason or another. Lizard Head Pass was the high point of the drive. It's 10,222 feet above sea level, and named for Lizard Head, this nearby peak that impresses onlookers and severely challenges climbers. The San Miguel River empties into the Dolores River, which, like the Gunnison, is a tributary of the mighty Colorado River. And soon after we crossed the Dolores, the trip odometer marked another milestone. A little bit longer to get to Mesa Verde, but first we got more looks at the unique personality of this part of Colorado. Mesa Verde National Park is unusual. Rather than focusing on a natural landmark per se, it's all about the native people of hundreds of years ago, who lived on the top of the mesas and below in well-built structures and recesses in the cliffs. In the Visitor and Research Center, the displays are well done and instructive, and the brochure is nice, although it does focus almost entirely on the people who lived in the cliffs. I wish it explained the topography of the area too. We also got 2 tokens, one for Mesa Verde and one for a nearby Yucca House National Monument, which we didn't actually visit. Oops. Our plan for Mesa Verde was to camp overnight. As the official website says, there's always plenty of space. I asked a ranger in the visitor center and she said she didn't know anything about the campsite because it's run by a private company. Also, the guided cliff dwelling tour was sold out. But as she was circling things on our map that we could go see ourselves, her computer beeped because 4 spaces had just opened up on the tour. We immediately bought 2 of them. At the entrance gate, I asked another ranger about the camping situation. He said the campsite was full and had in fact been booked solid since 2 days ago. No camping for us. That's what we get for arriving on Memorial Day weekend. The views driving into the park were rather stunning, making the lack of attention to the terrain in the brochure more perplexing. We pulled over for a quick picnic lunch, where I went on my phone and found a hotel room in the town of Cortez nearby. Mesa Verde was indeed busy on this warm Sunday afternoon in May. We were joining the Cliff Palace tour. The ranger led us down steep, narrow steps, and after a small trek through the trees along the tan cliff walls, the sprawling complex of cliffside structures opened up before us. At their zenith about 800 years ago, thousands of ancestral Pueblo people lived in these brick structures. The location offered protection from the elements and maybe from invaders, and life was busy here. Most time was spent gathering food, and crops like corn, beans, and squash were grown on the mesa top. People got up and down using handholds and toeholds in the cliff faces. On the tour, occasionally the ranger would explain something, and the rest of the time you can just explore and peek through the windows and get an idea of how the people lived. When the Cliff Palace tour was over, we wanted to see more about how people interacted with and lived in these lands. So we took the Mesa Top self-guided tour, driving around to various viewpoints on a road loop and learning the full history. Cliff dwellings were only constructed in the 1200s. The earliest people here arrived around 600 AD and lived in pit houses, 4-foot deep chambers dug in the ground and covered with mud roofs. Over the next few centuries, housing evolved. Pit houses grew in complexity and technology, and were then replaced by pueblos, structures with walls built above the ground on the mesa top. Both types included a kiva, a dugout round chamber probably used for religious purposes. Rooms had ventilation and even heating and cooling systems, although life was always tough. Half of the children didn't make it beyond the age of 5. At the Mesa Top Sites section, you can see the challenge for modern archaeologists. 3 types of structure, built around 100 years apart, on the same ground. Scholars have to study what they find carefully to peel back the layers. Sun Point Pueblo represents one of the last communities on the mesa top before people started building the cliff dwellings below. It's in bad disrepair because bricks were salvaged from these pueblos for new projects like Square Tower House. Interesting, and we don't even quite know why the ancestral Pueblo people moved down into the cliff dwellings at all. I like to think they just wanted to be closer to the crazy scenery, but that's just me. The grand finale of the Mesa Top Tour is the so-called Sun Temple. It was never completed, but some believe it was to be a site of religious importance. It came near the very end of the native people's existence in Mesa Verde. While the cliff dwellings were built haphazardly, walls going up wherever the cliff curved and added to as families grew, the Sun Temple was carefully designed beforehand. Maybe the structure was too little too late, but had been intended to appeal to gods, to help with whatever problems caused people to abandon Mesa Verde and move south around 1300 AD. Before leaving the park, we went down one more side road through the stark remnants of wildfires to Cedar Tree Tower. On the distant edge of a mesa, the purpose of towers like this is unknown. Some speculate that they were watchtowers, possible evidence of invaders that meant the end of the communities of Mesa Verde, leaving only mysterious ruins, impressive artifacts, and puzzling questions behind. We were unable to camp in the park, but we bid goodbye to some lucky souls who were going to get to stay outside all night here, and headed out to find our hastily reserved hotel room, somewhere down there in the Montezuma Valley. The room in Cortez was in the back of the hotel, with our window at parking lot height. A modern-day version of a cliff dwelling, really. Dinner was the food we were going to eat in the campsite. And I saw some final Colorado snow, in a way, on the little old cathode ray tube TV in the room, where an all-night South Park marathon was on. And after all the state has shown us, that's how the last night in Colorado went. Sleeping under the parking lot in a town called Cortez in Montezuma Valley. Tomorrow we leave Colorado, then step back inside it and 3 other states at the same time at 4 corners. Then we drive through Arizona's red awesomeness to another hidden gem, Canyon de Chelly National Monument.